Welcome, I'm Kara, Smore's Resident Educator, and this webinar will focus on how to use translation to foster a culture of inclusion for ELL or ML multilingual families. So I'm going to go right ahead and share my screen. And let's get going. So I want to start by talking a little bit about numbers. Today in our schools, 20% of students speak a different language at home. In 3 years, 2025, the number will grow to a quarter of all K-12 students in the US. As you can see from this graph, while most ELL families are located in cities, numbers are growing to suburban and rural areas as well. And this means that working with ELL families, if not relevant to you now, will be soon enough. So let's take a look at the most common home languages, and maybe you can guess along with this slide. Spanish, number 1, Arabic, Chinese, Vietnamese, and then Hmong, Somali, Russian, and Haitian are the next 4. And these 8 languages make up 85% of the home languages that all ELL students speak at home. So why does this matter? Well, if we start from the position that all parents care deeply about their children's education and all children have the innate ability to succeed, how does that shift our outreach to ELL families? What can we do in our schools to help students and parents leap over the language barrier? So I'm going to digress for a moment and share my story and why this topic is important to me and personal to me. Before I was Smore's resident educator, I was a teacher and principal for over 25 years. And then a great job opportunity came along, not for me, and we decided that a family adventure was in order. So with my family, I moved across the world to Tel Aviv, where I not only couldn't work in a school because I don't speak the language, suddenly I, the veteran educator, couldn't even participate in my children's education. And this is my son in the small picture smiling out at you. So here are some of the things that have been the most difficult for me. Most of all, it's difficult to have to rely on unreliable narrators in the form of my children. Although there are many immigrant families in the school community that my children attend, the school doesn't make an effort to bring together families who might speak the same language, something that would have helped me to build community in a new country. Nor does it provide materials or updates in a translatable form, something that would have helped me to support my children's education better. The upshot, I'm really alienated from my kids' experience, and I'm pretty sure that it looks like from the outside, I don't care about their education, when really nothing could be further from the truth. So I was very lucky to find my way to Smore, professionally speaking, but it's a tool that I wish I had known about when I was a principal. And at Smore, I have a dual goal. 1, to be a resource for the various teams at Smore, and 2, to put out materials that serve as resources for schools. So let's talk now about how we can use Smore's newsletter platform to create more inclusive, more welcoming environments for multilingual families. The newsletter that I'm about to show you was created by Principal Allison Serino, and she thoughtfully shared it with me earlier. And I thought it was a great example for how you can provide both cultural context and critical information to families in a newsletter. So let's take a look. So first of all, she starts off with a great big bold announcement about now you can translate this weekly update. And she has 2 simple directions for how to do so. This is in English, right? Well, keep looking, because here it is in Spanish. And then she must have really quite a diverse community look at all the languages where she has cut and where she has done screen grabs of how to translate this newsletter. So, and then a thank you to the teachers and students who helped out. So regardless of what country you're from in this particular school, you will be able to access the information, the instructions for how to translate your newsletter. I want to point out a couple of other things in this newsletter that I really appreciated. One was Red Ribbon Spirit Week this week. So each day it talks about what children have to wear, but it also shows them why they have to wear it. It provides the context. Now, I know as a parent, looks like this is a week that's all about celebrating healthy bodies and being drug and alcohol free. This is something that I would want to follow up on at home and discuss with my kids at the dinner table. But without the translation, not only couldn't I remind them to put their PJs on to go to school, not those, the clean ones, but I wouldn't even know the reason that they were doing it. So I really appreciate the explanation here. And then I just wanted to show you one more thing that Allison does here. So I'm sure if you're a principal watching this, you have been the recipient, like I was, of many emails that really shouldn't go to you. This is a big, bold announcement about not emailing the principal if your child will be absent. Now, all of this text will be translated to a new language, to the language of choice of the reader. But I also just want to show you that there is a screen grab of the website and a big arrow showing you exactly where you enter this information. So the text and the visual come together to help parents know what to do. So thank you for this, Principal Allison Serino. So let's go back to our presentation. So I got to thinking, who else could be sending home important information on a Smore newsletter that would enable ELL families and caregivers to more fully participate in their children's education? Here are a few examples. Classroom teachers, the guidance office, the nurse's office, especially in a pandemic, the PTA. One of the first things that came to my mind as I was thinking through this topic that seemed to me to be of critical importance to parents and caregivers who do not speak English fluently is being able to read a document like an IEP. While IEPs are highly formatted documents, let's take a look at how easily they can be adapted to a newsletter. So here's something that I created for Smore. Oh, sorry about that. Let's go find it again. And expand this out for you. Here's something that I created for Smore, an IEP template. And I took an actual IEP and I just took all the categories and rethought them onto a newsletter format. So here's my mock student, Jessica Matea, and you can see that each category is a category from a formal IEP, her name. But one of the things that you can do when you put an IEP on a Smore newsletter is that you can personalize it. And I think that the IEP can be kind of a forbidding document in a way. So to have pictures of the child, pictures of the child's work makes it more intimate, personalizes it, and maybe it will be a more comfortable document for families. So we have her information, we have some images of her, the team, the plot, the goals, progress reporting, services, supplementary aids, participation, and so on. And you can imagine if your native language is not English, this could be a difficult document to parse and therefore difficult to support your child as best as you would want to. So to take a document like an IEP and make it translatable is a really powerful service for parents. Okay, so where are we? Sorry. Me and my technical difficulties. All right, so in addition to the IEP template, I wanted to give you a peek at our Educator Hive, where I have a section for templates that I've created already to support schools. And they are templates that deal with sort of both the kinds of formatted documents formatted documents that schools might want to use, but also content that are useful to school, that are on themes of the month, that kind of thing. So if you look at our website, we have templates, and then templates by educators is all of you who use Smore, who want to share the template that you've created with a broader audience. And then templates by Smore are templates that I've created. And again, I've created them as a resource to, I seem to have alerted my Siri, as a service for families. So for schools. So let's take a look. We have STEAM Day, the IEP template. Here's a template filled with resources about working with ELL families. Here's a Thanksgiving, all resources for teaching about Thanksgiving. Here's a formatted template for parent-teacher conferences. Here's one for book reports. Student of the week. A lot of back-to-school resources, classroom rules poster, meet the teacher template. So you can see I'm really trying to think through all the different kinds of documents and resources that teachers and schools might need and put it in this template center so that you don't have to start from scratch. So let's look a little more specifically now at how the translation feature works. So this is a screenshot of a template that I created about the importance of translation. And I showed that to you a minute ago. And I used the photo gallery widget to highlight the steps for how you can see the translated version, both on the creator side and on the reader side, which is something that you can create as well, or you can duplicate this template when you share the information home with families. So let's take a look at it a little more closely. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to complete your newsletter, and you're going to press the button for Publish Newsletter, which takes you to this screen. And you will see the Preview Newsletter button. It's a little bit fainter right underneath Edit Newsletter. So you're going to press that button. And once you've pressed the preview button, it takes you to a new preview window with a drop-down menu of languages. And I note that right now you can't send a newsletter in another language, although that feature is in the works. But it's a great way to take screenshots of messages or instructions in other languages, which you can then embed on your newsletter, like we saw on Principal Allison Serino's newsletter earlier. So when it comes to the reader side, you open your email and you see right here in the classic editor, you view it in your browser. In the new editor, you press the translate button. And a side note, if you're wondering about the new editor, it's in the process of being slowly rolled out to everybody. But anyway, regardless of which button you press, both will take you to a preview window with a drop-down menu to choose your preferred language. And fun fact, you only have to do the language once thanks to automatic translation. So I'm going to do a quick live demo so you can see it a little more clearly. And I'm not the most adept technologically, so bear with me. So let's take this template and let's say I'm still working on it. So now I want to publish it. And here's the little subheader, preview this newsletter. I'm going to click that. And it takes me to a new window. And now I just press translate and I can pick any of the languages. And sorry, I think one of my kids must have set this to Hebrew. So anyway, it does come up in English in all of the different languages that you might need. So here's a quick look at how it looks on mobile, and you can see the translate button is right there, super simple. And I wanted to play for you a clip of a video that a video interview that I did with a principal in New Jersey who talks about how meaningful using translation has been in his school, particularly during this time of pandemic. Now, it's pretty powerful, you know, that idea that, you know, my mom is 7,000 miles away from my kids and hasn't seen them in 2 years. And so it would be an amazing thing to be able to forward onto her in a language that she could read all kinds of pictures and information about what they're doing in school. So, best practices. Make sure that you indicate how to translate from your very first outreach, both in text and in images, right at the top of your newsletter. And it's not a bad idea to repeat this on an ongoing basis in future editions of your newsletter. Remember that if your newsletter includes screenshots with important information, the text in the screenshot won't translate. So double down on the explanation and writing. Automatic translation means that Smore remembers the reader's preferred language. So if their browser is set to Spanish, once they successfully translate to Spanish once, it will do so automatically in the future. And I think, you know what, I want to give you a quick look at what that looks like. Let's go back to this template, and I'm going to send a newsletter, share with email, and you can see down at the bottom, the button is turned on for automatic translation. So when you send that out, it will allow families to choose their language, and then all future communications will automatically translate to that preferred language. They only have to do it one time. And I think that this makes a really big difference for families, because Once you get it, you get it. And like I mentioned, I've created a template with just on this subject in the Educator Hive with links to helpful articles and resources. You can also find a link to that in the description on YouTube. So just to wrap it all up, number one, just because it says newsletter doesn't mean it has to be a newsletter. You can rethink any of your school collateral into a translatable form on our platform. Think across your departments and teams, reflect on all the materials that you send out, and make sure that everything important is available in a translatable version. And lastly, whether you're a classroom teacher, a department chair, or a principal, you set the tone, either for your class or for your school, and for all parents. If you build a culture of inclusivity, others will follow your example. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, for your patience with my technological fumbles. I hope you are walking away today with one actionable idea. Please check out the YouTube description for additional links and resources. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day.